Welcome back to the Football Terrace, another ranking show for you. It's been a brilliant start to the Premier League campaign. Some of the new signings have got off to blistering starts in the EPL. Others, not so much. We're here today to put them in a rankings for their opening few weeks. Had to have a little bit of a conversation with you. We haven't really discussed how the new transfers have done so far this season on the Football Terrace. So we want to get that done with you. We've got a brilliant panel on the show tonight, ready to come on and have their say. Really intrigued to do this tonight. Remember, you can super chat in to move your favorite players or least favorite players about. It's a great way to donate to the Football Terrace, and we're ever so grateful for every donation that we get. If you're new to the Terrace and you haven't done it before, we'll stick to the rules that you, the audience, set many months ago now. £5 to move a player up or down any category, £20 to move them anywhere. If you do feel very generous and you want to create new tiers or do something crazy, £50 and above for that. But remember, no pressure whatsoever from anybody to donate to the Football Terrace. It's all a little bit of fun if you feel the need to do so. I want to introduce you tonight, my brilliant panel. I'm glad it's first guy I'm going to introduce. I'm glad he's back. Big Arsenal fan. He hasn't been on the channel as much recently. That's mainly because the man's just out and about all the time, drinking, having fun, living his life. Man like Kesh is in the house tonight doing his thing. Also tonight, Prime's back. Look at him there, the Irish Darth Sidious doing his thing there with the glasses on. Conroy's back. I want to say Conroy's back. Man's looking like Tintin in the house tonight, doing his thing there. Look at that hair. Loving it. It's like the Ant and Dec from the 90s. Got that lovely haircut. Curtains are coming back, I believe. I mean, I can't grow curtains anymore. The balding's got to. Do you know what's good, though, about my hair falling out? I used to have a cow's lick. My cow's lick's fallen out now, so that's a positive. Do you know what I mean? But transplant coming soon. Speaking of transplants, man like Rams in the house, looking good, looking sick, looking kind of slim at the minute, looking like he's losing a little bit of weight there. The peacock feathers still dominating that room as well. And making his Football Terrace StreamYard debut tonight. You saw him in the studio on Friday. I'm going to try it. Lies is here with us. You know this guy, big Man United fan, all the way from New York. See, look at the quality of the camera as well. Listen, ladies, look at ladies watching. That is a gorgeous smile, a great hairline. Eyebrows not too bushy, doing his thing. Andy has an American accent as well. So if you're into that kind of thing, hit him up on socials. Great panel tonight. Gents, how are we all doing? We all good?
Good, thanks, Terry. Doing good, mate.
Good. I'm glad. Prime, you good, bruv? You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. Yeah, good. Cheer up,
good,
everyone.
Good.
Come on. Good. I'm nervous. All right, we'll jump straight into this. We all know the rules. We've done these before. Remember, if more than one of you bids to put the same person higher, we create a little bit of a book on the Football Terrace that enables you to move them up and down. We'll do the moves at the end once we've placed everybody where we want them. As an example, there's already a super chat in. For a man like Damari Gray that does feature tonight. We haven't got all the signings. We've got the big 6 signings, and we've thrown some in from Leicester and Everton as well. So without further ado, we're going to delve in and jump into this now. I'm going to go to Ram first of all, that's below me. And the first player I'm giving you tonight, Ram, to place is Everton's Rondon.
I don't know. It's difficult. I'll put him in. Played well so far because when he has come on, he has done a job for Rafa Benitez. So I think he's been okay. So yeah, I put him on played well.
Played well. That's quite good for him. Lies, I'm going to go to you for your first placement, and I'm going to give you Samari.
Oof. I would say average, to be honest with you, because I think this is a guy that came into Leicester with a lot of expectations, came off winning the league last season, came into a team that was really kind of missing that dynamic midfielder that he provides. I don't think he's honestly made the impact I thought he would, and a lot of people would. But I do think he will come good eventually, but I think so far he's been pretty average.
Yeah, it's weird. Leicester have been behind the average so far this season, haven't they? Like, I expected so much more from them. Is this just embedding new players? You know, why do you think there's been such a slow start from them?
To be honest, I think, honestly, it has to do with, I think, when you hear the same manager's voice for so long, and also when you see so many failures to qualify for the Champions League at the last day, like they have the last 2 seasons, I don't want to say motivation is an issue, but I don't know. I feel like it may be time for a new voice to come in. I've personally said Graham Potter, but I think that's kind of the reason why for Leicester, they've kind of taken a step back compared to the last few seasons under Brendan Rodgers. They may have just hit a wall under this guy.
I think that's a bit premature. Come on, it's 7 games in. The guys won our FA Cup. There's nothing in football anymore. It's 7 games in. Because they've not started like a racehorse like the past 2 seasons, I feel like that's reactionary. I've heard a few people say that recently. I don't know if Leicester are going to get a better manager than Rodgers right now. You know he can win an FA Cup. You know he's got them 5th. It's not 4th. I understand they've bottled it a little bit twice, which they've been. I think there's like a mad stat like they've been in the top 4 for the longest time out of those periods. However, like I love Graham Potter. I'm one of Graham Potter's biggest fans. He's not going to leave Brighton anytime soon, at least till this season. He's going to finish the project there. And secondly, you don't know how Graham Potter's going to work with a club higher than that. I just think Brendan Rodgers has bought himself at least this season, if you ask me.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one indeed to see how they progress. And I did call him a bottle job at the weekend. Do you know what, even Twitter? Like, if I knew is it Dempsey that owns it, Mr. Dempsey? Please add like a sarcastic font change, like so that people know when you're saying something. Because YouTube, like, Twitter does not work with sarcasm anymore. I don't know whether it's the age group, the lack of education, feelings, lockdown, but the sarcasm is dead on Twitter. It really, really is. I'm coming to you next, Conroy, anyway, and I'm going to give you... I want to pick a juicy one, actually. I'm not going to pick a juicy one here. And I'm going to give you... Romero of Tottenham.
I knew you were going to do that. I knew you were going to do that one because there's like the one person there I've not seen a lot of Romero, but I did look at his stats earlier today. I feel like he's done reasonably well. I was reasonably well. I would put him in average. To be perfectly honest, the Tottenham team's not looked good at all. So I think it's maybe a little bit harsh to say it's been a terrible start from him. However, people might disagree with that. I was quite impressed in the Copa America with him. I would put him in average, and now between average or terrible start will come good. At the moment, I'd say average. Just from what I've seen of him, he's not been, from my eyes, terrible. But I do think he'll definitely come good for Tottenham. He's a good player. I was impressed with him in the Copa America.
Intriguing one, really, with him. I was so impressed with him at the weekend. I can't believe he hasn't had more game time. Maybe it's about integration or whatnot. Kesh, I'm going to do your first pick. I'm going to give Arsenal. Got a lot in here. Arsenal were the only team that really signed a lot of players. Your first one I'm going to give you, bro. I'm going to give you Lokonga.
I'll put him in average. I've seen lots of good things from him. I think over the last game when we played Brighton, he didn't really understood the role he was playing. He's a young lad with an high ceiling, I think. And I think he will come good over the next 18 months.
Yeah, I mean, how about yourself, Ram? What have you thought of Lokonga's start to the Prem?
I think he's been okay. I think he's been very, very decent. He's shown a lot of glimpses of how good a player he could be. But again, like I said, he's young. He still needs time to develop. And I think he's going to have a very good future as a footballer.
Yeah, he looks decent. You say average is where you put him, Kesh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair, to be honest. I felt a little bit sorry for him at times because when I spoke, I was very lucky to speak to Christophe Terreur in the summer. And he was like, he's probably not ready yet for this move. Arsenal kind of buying him maybe a year sooner than they normally would. It's going to take him a little bit of time to integrate. He's probably played more games and had more minutes than he probably expected. And I think you've seen that. But at the same time, what I'm impressed with, he's had those moments that you expect from superstar young talents where there's moments and passes and touches where you're like, there's a player in there. I feel like I've seen more from him in 6 or 7 games than I saw from, and I know he's a different position, but from what I saw from the likes of Nelson and Joe Willock in an Arsenal shirt, I feel like in 6 or 7 games, you can just see the star quality shining through. Which will be interesting indeed. Prime, your first pick, mate, and I'm going to give you Konate of Liverpool.
Thus far, can you put the chairs back up, Terry? Sorry. Look, he hasn't really played much, so there's not really much to judge off. I'm going to put him in average thus far because there's not much for me to say he's been amazing or that he's been terrible.
Yeah, Conroy, from your point of view, I'll ask you for this question. Actually, I'll ask Prime this question first. Why do you think Jurgen Klopp hasn't played him very much so far?
Is this not what Klopp tends to do? He tends to slowly bed players in. He did this when they bought Fabinho. I think he did this with Oxlade-Chamberlain as well, and maybe you can say a
Robertson as
lot
well,
of those
mate.
injuries.
Robertson as well.
So I think that's something that Klopp tends to do, just slowly bed a player in for the first 2-3 months. Hopefully, Konate will come good. My only big thing with him is that he's injury prone, and Gomez is injury prone, and Matip's injury prone. So it's going to be quite, from my point of view anyway, it'll be quite funny to see how that all eventually balances out. But in terms of talent, he's great.
Yeah, I mean, Conroy, I mean, I totally get Klopp has taken a long time to bed people in. When do you think he'll start to get those opportunities? When will he start to get the nod ahead of Matip, who, I've heard Liverpool fans say things along the lines of, Matip's been probably the most impressive centre-back so far this year. Like, when is the opportunity for Konate really going to present itself? Because you don't sign a player for, the salary and the fee of him for him to be your fourth choice. Like, he's got to be an ideal that he's looking to partner Van Dijk long time. When do you think those opportunities will arise?
I've got to be honest, Terry. I think with the age of Konate, I don't think there's a rush for that. And Joe Matip is probably, we've said, most Liverpool fans, Ram will agree, for years, Joe Matip's an outstanding defender. If he could keep his fitness and be injury free, he'd be raved about consistently. He's unbelievable for the shape of the guy as well. He just seems to work out people, like even Lukaku in that game. I'm not saying he had him in his pocket or anything, but you could tell he was a bit rattled at the start with him, and he worked him out. For me, when Matip either gets injured or misses a game, that's when he's going to get a chance, because right now Matip's not getting dropped. In the last couple of games, Matip's been the more impressive one as well. So for me, Konate's got plenty of time. I agree, probably better than win, but I don't think it's a straight swap. I think Matip will get injured at one point, no, Terry. So I can guarantee Konate will step in at one point in the season. But I feel like the opportunity will just arise organically, and he'll take his chance. And as Prime says, I feel like with Konate, he's a great signing, but plenty of time, no rush. And Van Dijk and Matip have gelled as well. I think for Van Dijk coming back, even though he's a great defender, I think it's really good that he's paired with someone right now he's worked with so much in previous years.
I think that's the most important thing. Like when we first bought Konate, we all knew it was a long-term investment. And at this moment in time, I think he needs to start with getting a good relationship with Joe Gomez, because for the cup games, I think him and Joe are going to be starting quite a lot of the cup games, and hopefully in the future, when Matip and Van Dijk start to get a little bit older, those two will come in and slot themselves in the first team.
Yeah, do you know what? Again, I'd be very relaxed. I mean, I ask questions like I'm not relaxed, but my personal opinion is I think it's fine to do what you're doing, and sometimes when you have to throw some new signings click and they can be played straight away and they can be brilliant, whether they're internal from the Premier League or external, as an example. Like, I feel like Mo Salah and Mane as examples came straight into the Liverpool team. Van Dijk came straight into the Liverpool team and killed it. Now, it's obviously a lot generally easier when you're moving within the same league. I kind of look at signings that Man United have made and Arsenal and people in recent times, and actually maybe throwing them in from the opening day of the season is actually the worst thing you can do, even if they start well, because you can level out a little bit. The pace is really, really hard. And Jurgen Klopp tends to have got that right. The only real, the players that haven't done so well for Klopp in terms of marquee signings have been the ones with injuries, as opposed to anything else. Like Naby Keita, I know we banter it, but we don't know how good or bad he would have been if he didn't have all the injury problems. If he could have played 20 games on the bounce, who knows how good he could be in the Prem. But it's certainly going to be an interesting one, and it's good that you've got him in reserve, because he's definitely better than the likes of Ben Davis and Kabak and Nate Phillips, should you get any injury concerns again. Ram, do me a favor, and can you pick my first one for me? I want to do some tiering tonight as well. Pick my first person for me.
I'm going to give you Danny Ings.
Oh, Danny Ings is an interesting one, because I think he's played like 4 or 5 games. He's got 2 goals, 2 assists. He's obviously scored one of the goals of the season already. He's batting at Aston Villa, though. So I think his goal return's decent. His goal return has been pretty good. They've had not a bad start to the campaign. I feel like putting him in ball in. I wouldn't necessarily say like he's killing it. Like there's other players I'm looking at on that list, which I would put in killing it. There can only be one signing of the season so far. So I feel like balling would be where I'd put Danny Ings. I've been looking at Tottenham play recently. I'm thinking if Tottenham didn't have Harry Kane and they had Danny Ings, they'd have won more games as an example. If you put Danny Ings in the Brighton team, they'd be top of the league right now. There's no doubt about it. So like with the way he's performing. So yeah, I think Danny Ings has started really, really well, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, if he had the start that he had last season with Southampton, I think he would have been in killing it. But yeah, like you said, he had a pretty good goal return. But he has been a little bit hot and cold recently, so it's understandable. Yeah,
and it's been Villa played United and Chelsea as well, haven't they? They have played Chelsea. Yeah. So I mean, there's going to be more games where Villa will be on top as well for those. So I think like Ings will come good. As I say, I think Balling's probably quite accurate. There's a few who are just ahead of him, killing it, and then there's obviously the one signing in the season. But it's a good start for him.
I think the thing with Ings too is like it's not going to be like Southampton last season where he's the guy. Like if Southampton scores a goal, it comes from him. You have Watkins up front who had a pretty good first Premier League season for his own standards. You have Leon Bailey. I'm sure Buendia is going to get in the goals and assists eventually this season. So I don't think the burden is on Ings like it was last season to be carrying that load up front. And I think his numbers will go down, but I don't think it's like any indication that he's gotten worse. I just think his role in the team it's not as dependent on him as it was last season.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think they're still fixing their kind of creative togetherness, if that makes sense, because you've got Grealish that's gone, Buendia's, we're going to get onto them later, but the Buendia and Bailey are kind of settling in. They haven't kind of settled yet, which is kind of understandable to a degree. So I think there's a lot more to come from Danny Ings. Ram, coming to you next, bro, and I'm going to give you... Oh, I want to give you a good one. Here. I'm going to give you Aaron Ramsdale.
Ooh.
Aaron Ramsdale of Arsenal.
Ooh. I'll put him in balling. I've been surprised by him. I've been very, very surprised by him. I had very low standards of Aaron Ramsdale going into Arsenal, but to be fair, he has saved Arsenal on quite a few occasions. So, yeah, I'll put him in balling. I think he's been very, very good.
How about yourself?
For now. It's coming. Don't worry about it. This false confidence is fine. We all know how good Aaron Ramsdale is, okay? And we'll find out by the end of the season.
Hang on. I mean, Kesh, would you not say he should be higher up, killing it maybe even signing of the season so far? He's been brilliant, hasn't he?
Listen, I'm very grounded in it. I think he's come in and he's doing an exceptional job so far. I see the right fundamentals. I know a lot of people wrote him off, but he's been incredible. Better than Leno. He helps us in terms of our play. He's doing the job that's asked of him, and he hasn't conceded much. He's had, 3 clean sheets since he's been in 4 games. Leno had, I think he got 4 in 20. So he's doing a better job than what the keeper that was ahead of him.
Are you guys not doing what Chelsea fans did last season with Mendy at the start? And I know Mendy came good, that's all great, but first month or two, Chelsea fans were saying Mendy was the best goalkeeper in the league. And I was saying you're getting gassed because the season before, you were all saying Kepa was the worst in the league. So because Mendy was a bit better, you were overrating him. Is that not what you guys are doing at Ramsdale?
But the Mendy gas ended up being justified. He had a great season.
I'm talking about at the start of the season. That's my point, that they're overrating Ramsdale right now. Ramsdale might end up being the best goalkeeper in the league come the end of the season.
But that's not going to happen. I'll guarantee that.
That's my point. That doesn't mean anything as of right now.
I don't think anyone's looking at it like that. I've not seen that at all. I just see a lot of people praising him for being better than what they thought he would be. I don't see anyone saying Ramsdale's world class or Ramsdale's going to be the next Alisson or anything. They're just saying he's been a very competent keeper, come in, done his job that's asked of him, and so far so good.
Yeah, Conroy, you seem to have a bit of an issue with him. What's your issue with him?
It's just like, I'm a Liverpool fan, right? I've had the Simon Mignolet signings, I've had the Carrier signings, right? It's obvious, it's predictable, we all know what's going to happen. He's fair enough, fair play to the guy, he has been balling, that's accurate, but we all know what's going to happen. Like, I've seen these signings at Liverpool, like when push comes to shove, you will see how good he is, and he's not going to be the quality that Arsenal need. And fair enough, he's done really well, no down in the guy. And I'm not saying he might not make it as a Premier League keeper, but I've just seen this with Liverpool numerous times. This is not me even a go at Arsenal. I've experienced this firsthand, and it's what always happens. It's like you sign someone from Sunderland who gets loads of shots against them, and everyone thinks he's brilliant, and they don't do their proper analysis on it, and then you find out late in the season there's big moments and they don't step up. And I'm not saying you can get an Alisson, but see with an Alisson, Man City first half, Liverpool, he saves us twice, and I just expect that because he's that standard of keeper. For me, Ramsdale, if he is Premier League, he's low down Premier League. And, I hope he proves me wrong. I honestly do, but I just see the same things in him as I've seen in previous Liverpool signings or signings in the past. And I just don't, I think there's better options out there.
Interesting take. Viewers, what do you think and what do you feel about Ramsdale? I mean, I would have put him in killing it personally because that's how he started.
Well, I agree with that, Terry. Don't get me wrong. He's definitely started really well, yeah.
I hear that. And again, I think what Prime said was interesting about you're only overrating someone if your rating you give them now turns out to be false in the future. I think Lies is right in the sense of if you say Ramsdale was the real deal, and he turns out to be the real deal, you weren't overrating him. It's only if he turns out to be Karius where it's like, damn. But I get everyone's points. It's interesting. Viewers, I want your thoughts and feelings as where he should be placed. Next up, Lies is back on the pot here, and I'm going to give you an Arsenal player, and I'm going to give you Martin Odegaard.
I knew you were going to do that for some reason. I had a feeling. Odegaard's an interesting one, right? Because we saw him last season of Arsenal, and honestly, when he first joined Arsenal, I was thinking to myself, this is an Arsenal kind of player. Like you think of your old school, like Wenger players in the 2000s, early 2010s, he strikes you as that kind of player. And I think he really struggled last season to adapt to the Premier League, to adapt to an Arsenal team that he didn't really have a clear role in because of the emergence of Smith Rowe, because of how good Saka was, et cetera, et cetera. I think this season, since he's come back to Arsenal, he's actually been much better. I think you can clearly see he's more confident every time he plays for them. I don't know if I'd say killing it, but I wouldn't say he's been average either. I think he's probably been one of Arsenal's better performers every time I've watched him play personally. I think his game, when you watch him, he plays it very simple, right? Like he's not the guy who's playing these outrageous passes like Bruno or even attempting them. But I think he has been key to Arsenal's resurgence this year. Like I think since he's come in, there is clearly an improvement in the team. I don't want to say, I'll say balling. I think balling is fair. If there was a level between balling and average, I'd put him there, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. So I'll go balling.
Terry, you're muted.
Terry, I think you're muted, mate.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realise I turned my mic off. Sorry.
I thought my sound was going.
I see it in the comments. Yes.
I thought my sound was gone as well. Oh,
sorry. Yeah, look, from my side of things, I look at it this way. When you play for Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, City, when you play for one of the biggest teams in the country and you're the main creator, 10. I don't care about the shirt number. When you're the main creator in the 10, playing it safe doesn't cut it. KDB loses the ball on average 23 to 24 times per game, but that's because he's always trying to make something happen. Bruno Fernandes, 23 to 24 times per game because he's always trying to make things happen. Highly creative or high goal scoring players lose the ball. What you said there was right for me. Odegaard does some great things, but there are times where that's the pass and he doesn't. He plays it safe and easy. So his percentage of passing, I'm sure, I haven't checked, but I bet it's high. I bet it's really, really high. 85%, which is pretty good for an attacking midfielder. The ones that have the better creativity, you tend to find they're in the low 70s, but that's because they're attempting those balls that open teams up. And I think ball-in is over the top. I think average would be right. But, Kesh, I'd love to get your view as an Arsenal fan on it, bruv.
You see the good work that he does. I do agree that there's times where he needs to play that more penetrating ball through the middle and break the line. And I do think that will come in his game. Because there's one thing I've noticed in his game compared to last season is he tends to always overload the right side rather than play centrally. This season, you're seeing him play a lot more centrally. And I've spoken to a lot of people and they say, oh, it's instinct. You can't take that out of a player's game. I said, no. A good player can dominate the center of the final third. And once he gets that in his game, he'll be better. So I think it's only been, 7 games in. I think he will come good. I think he will start to see a more confident player once he works out the league and actually get to that tempo of the game. It's the same with Lukaku. They're a bit off the pace at the moment when it comes to the Premier League tempo. And I think Odegaard will start to play a lot more penetrating balls through the final third.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, and I think, as you said, the interesting thing will be it will be interesting to see how that kind of transpires moving forward. But Lies has placed him into balling. That's where he'll stay. Next up with his second pick is going to be Conroy, and Conroy, I'm giving you Demarai Gray.
Oh, yes, happy with this one. Signing the season, get it in. There we go. No messing about. 1.7 million. It was the most obvious bargain in the season. I said it at the time. A few of my friends said it as well. 1.7 by Leverkusen. Guys had 3 goals, 1 assist. He's been quite a few goal involvements. I don't have that stat off the top of my head, but you talk about the Old Trafford, the out muscles Fred, passes that on to, was it Rondo? I can't remember. He passed it on to, and he lays Townsend in. Just outstanding signing, looked brilliant. Always thought he was very good at Leicester, just his consistency. Benitez seems to have unlocked that. For me, signing the season, and there's few players who are going to rival that, and maybe the guys will say, but the thing for me is the signing I take into the value, and 1.7 for me is unreal for what you're getting, what you're getting from that as well. So signing the season for me so far. You can maybe argue Townsend's got a shout in that as well, but I'd say Gray's been outstanding.
I want to ask Prime a question here. He has started well, Prime. Would you look at someone like Gray, the praise he's getting, would you look at that as overrating him because it's still only those 6 games? Is it time to see him level? I'm not saying right now you can say he's been the best signing, but do you think people are overrating Gray? Is this just a purple patch when moving to a new club? What's your take on it, Prime?
Maybe a bit of a purple patch, but I think people need to respect what he's currently doing. Because last season, a lot of people were giving praise to. I was giving praise to the likes of Harvey Barnes, and Leicester is a place where Demarai Gray was at before, and he didn't really get much of a chance. He went out to, I think, Leverkusen. Now he's back, and even though it's such a short period, he is killing it. I hope he carries his form out, though, towards the end of the season. And if he can push Everton towards 5th, 6th in the league, him and Townsend, Rondon, if they can help push Everton towards, that top 6, that would be amazing for them. But as of right now, yeah, he fully deserves his praise.
I think when you look at Gray, I think he's a player, if you've been watching him from when he was a young kid, he always had a kind of a decent ceiling where you thought he should go on and be a Premier League player at a top 10 team. And it's just that he's never actually met it. But you have to remember, sometimes it takes players to come of age where they find themselves, and then you see them start producing a lot more consistently. And I think this might be the grade that we've been waiting for. I think he's got a very good ceiling where he can go on and be a consistent winger. I think he can hit the levels of Walcott, in my opinion. A very good Premier League winger.
Yeah, do you know what listen, I hear all of it, and I really like seeing him do well. I like how he's performing. Some people for me have just gone a little bit too far. And when I say that, I've seen people say should be in the England setup, should be doing this, should be doing that. And I'm like, slow down, because I remember saying this time, and I don't get everything I say right. No one does on socials. But I remember when James Rodriguez started the first 4 or 5 games of last season and looked like the James Rodriguez from 2014. Everyone said he's back, he's killing it. And I was just like, let's give it another month and see where he is. And we've seen where he went. James Rodriguez is one of the most overrated, overhyped players in the last 10 years. In fact, and one of the biggest underachievers in terms of what his ability suggested and what he went on to deliver. Now, I'm not putting Demarai Gray in that category. I think you're right. The cost of the transfer fee makes it an absolute bargain. At the same time, if he then went now 25 games without scoring a goal, I also wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't sit there and go, that's a big shock, because a club's let him go for £1.5 million for a reason. Like, Leicester didn't keep him for a reason. I hope for him that I hope he sees this and goes, that Terry dude who's losing his hair, I'm going to show him. He won't give a shit about what I've got to say. But like, I really hope that he does well. But I do almost get this element of people always like to go too far with it. I remember Tammy Abraham 2 seasons ago scored 7 goals in 3 games. The new Drogba. It's like, slow down with the new Drogba talk. Let's see what happens. But viewers, I do want your thoughts. I want your feelings on Damari Gray's start. Is he the signing of the season so far? Let us know. Super chat here says, where do you guys rank Trent in terms of creativity in the Prem? Also, apart from Prime, do the rest of you think Chelsea can play a back 4 consistently? We'll come to that question a little bit. Well, actually, we'll do them now very, very quickly. Trent's creativity is great. What fan interest? Does Trent still take corners?
Yeah.
Yes, but only one side, not
okay. No, I'm not putting it down. I don't know who said it the other day. It might have been Daniel in the group chat, where it was the creativity numbers in the Prem, and Bruno's has created the most chances in the Prem. He said, yeah, but he takes corners. By the way, only on one side as well.
And you're not allowed to take corners now. Is this what
I said this to someone the other day. I'm like, so you're going to penalise Bruno and Trent and Mason Mount because they're good at taking corners?
Mate, the many people who can't beat the first man, it should get bonus points for scoring from a corner.
Mate, honestly, football fans in the like, everybody's mental gymnastics and desperation to play down rivals in recent times has become so farcical. Like, but we have to discount anything you do from a free kick or a corner. Why? Because if you're not good at it, like if you're good at it, it's an attribute. Like literally, like if you're looking at a player, if you're looking at 2 wingers, right, and one of them's, and say you were to rate their attributes out of 10, and they're literally equal everywhere, but one's 19 out of 20 on taking corners and free kicks, and the other guy is 12 out of 20, that's going to tip you, especially when I play Football Manager. That's how you did it. You weighed up the numbers, and what do I want him to do? I do. You're 20 out of 20 for taking corners. I need that. It's a madness for me. Yeah, Trent's creativity is brilliant. And does anyone think Chelsea can play a flat back 4?
I think they will eventually. I think that's the plan. I'm not saying they will right now, but I think that's Tuchel's plan. But I think they will be. I think he's a brilliant manager, brilliant tactician. I think that will be his long-term plan. I don't know if it might be with another acquisition, but I think if you watch any info on Tuchel tactically, I think that's what he'll be going for. But obviously, Prime watches Chelsea every week. He'll be better to inform on that. But I think they will eventually.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see. Someone here, Terry likes his voice. Yes, it's my YouTube channel tone. Definitely. Imagine it. Imagine not being able to talk on your own platform. Right. Let's go forward here. Next on the show, it's their pick is going to be Kesh. And Kesh, I'm going to give you this time round Emerson Royale.
I think I'm a big fan of him, by the way. Well, from when I watched him in the Liga. I think he's been average, but I just think you can't rule him out after 6 games. Like, no one's expecting, unless you're a well beater and you're proven, where you think, all right, after 3 games, you should be doing your thing. I think you have to cut him some slack and give him to at least mid-season to actually work out what kind of player he's like. I think the system as well doesn't really suit him. When you watch him in Real Betis, he's a bit of a marauding fullback. I've always likened him to the likes of Maicon. Powerhouse, bullies his way down the flanks and get across in. But we haven't really seen that as of yet. But I think he's a good player. I wouldn't put him in average. I think he's been worse than average. But hopefully he comes good.
So when you say worse than average, so terrible start will come good?
Yeah.
Cool. So that's I think that's fair. Anyone disagree with Kesh?
No. I think you were being kind, to be honest, mate, with the way you described that. So fair play. I thought you could have absolutely went for him. Because I thought the guy was
very diplomatic.
Yeah, because I watched him in the derby, just looked nervous on the ball, and I'm like, how can you be at this level and not have that annoys me. That's another debate, but I think he will come good, Kesh. But I thought he would just looked a nervous wreck when he got the ball in the London derby. And I was,
Yeah.
The worst was against Zaha against Palace.
Yeah, that was the worst.
That boy, oh my goodness.
Did he play against? I thought it was Tanganga.
Was it
No.
Tanganga?
No, it was Tanganga. It was Tanganga. Yeah, he
was
just.
the South London North. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Tanganga played centre back, didn't he? Emerson Royal played right back, yeah.
No, I don't think he did. Emerson Royal made his debut after the international break, but yeah, he's.
No. He played against Palace.
It was Tanganga. He got sent off.
Tanganga played centre back.
Did he?
Did he? I'm not sure.
I'm confused. I'm gonna go. Do you know? I'm gonna do the most sensible thing, and I'm gonna go and check. I'm gonna go check now, real quick.
If it's both of them, then maybe.
Yeah, Emerson played right back. Tanganga played centre back with
I
Dyer.
remember Emerson
No, he
started,
did. Yeah. You're right.
started well
memory cage.
for the first
You're-
15. He was
Yeah,
getting
sorry,
very close to Zaha. And Zaha whacked him out. And then after the last first 15 minutes, he just lost it. Couldn't keep
No,
chasing.
yeah, he absolutely did. There's a comment here from Hakeem that says Emerson equals Aurier wasn't an upgrade.
Give him time, man. Give him time.
I think. Do you know what it is? It's that throwing him in straight away without that time to adjust. It's absolutely killed him. But the problem is when you do that, you can destroy someone forever if you keep doing it because their confidence just dies. If Man United don't want Martial, I would love him at Liverpool, is what Mr. Dare I Say It Drifter's got to say. Liverpool fans wanted him a few years ago. I remember that one. I really do. But there we go. Next pick is back with man like Prime. And Prime, I'm going to give you Leon Bailey.
I think he's been, dare I say, balling. It was a bit of a weird signing one for Villa to make, and I didn't necessarily think he would adjust straight away. But from the small sample size that I've seen from him, he seems really good. Like, really, really good. And I don't know why he hasn't came to the Prem earlier, because he's been linked with Man United in the past, and I think Arsenal for 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I don't know why he hasn't come earlier, but look, let's see what he can do at Villa. Him and Wendy have big shoes to fill in Jack Grealish, and I think the two of them together can do something special.
Good. Yeah, I agree. I think he's had a very good start. A very, very good start indeed. Ram, if you can pick my next one for me, please, mate, that would be great. Starting to get to the big boys now.
Yeah.
Slowly.
I'll give you Tomiyasu.
Tomiyasu's easy. Killing it. Absolutely killing it. I think he was a little bit shaky at moments against Brighton, but got better. But he has looked assured. He has looked excellent on the ball. His positional sense is great. And I think he's done so well. Like, honestly, killing it for me. I think he's done great. I knew he'd be a good player. He was someone that every now and then is a player that you kind of come across and you watch and you research and you look at them. He was someone that I really expected to do well in the Premier League. I thought Spurs were going to get him and they didn't. And then, he did well. And look, he had a tough time the other night against Brighton, but they didn't score. Like, it wasn't, he got taken on a few times, but even, the best defensive fullback in the country, AWB, gets beat sometimes. So I don't think that's a fair way to do it. But I think overall, I would put him in absolutely killing it, in my opinion, when it comes to Tomiyasu. I think he's been brilliant myself. That's what I would put him. I think he's been great. By the way, some of the guys that are in balling, I would have put in killing it as well. Like, I think them being in ballings, like the likes of Ramsdale, I'd have put into balling. In fairness to Rondon, he's in balling. I wouldn't have put him in there, to be fair, Rondon. I'd put him in average. But that's another comment there. I think Tomiyasu's been brilliant, personally.
Do you think, again, because the previous players in that right back position for Arsenal has been Bellerin, Cedric, and Maitland-Niles, Chambers, because he's been playing better than them thus far, and people don't seem to rate Bellerin and stuff that highly. Like, I think, are people not a bit overgassing it with him? Like, if, the first test he's got was Brighton, and he didn't handle it that well.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand what you're saying. I'm talking about, it's like the Damari Gray thing. If we use that logic, Damari Gray can't be the signing of the season, because is he likely to be at the end of the season? Maybe not. If Ronaldo goes on to score 30 goals, if Lukaku strikes Chelsea to a title, we might change our minds. But from what I've seen in the sample size so far, I think he's done so well. If he levels out and goes backwards, then when we come back round to doing this in, say, January, I'll say he's moved into average. But I think the sample size we've had, the same as, I think he's been brilliant.
In all fairness, yes, I know he didn't have the greatest of games against Brighton, but you have to apply the context. And I think any fullback would have got killed in that situation where you would have almost Cucurella overlapping, and sometimes the Brighton midfield will go over and they'll double up on him.
Yeah.
So they're giving give and goes. You're not going to keep up for all 90 minutes with that.
No, you're not. And Arsenal's team didn't press. So the Arsenal team wasn't pressing. They were allowing that attack. They overloaded him, and you can't blame him for that. Like, there was no support for him at times when there should have been. I thought the midfield of Arsenal's was pretty much non-existent in those defensive areas at times. So he was kind of hung out to dry a little bit. But when you got it right in the previous 2 games with him in the side, it was great. And I do get your point. His performances are better than what we've seen from other people. But you could just tell it was his defensive positioning. Those things are natural to defenders. He won't coach that by Arteta in a week. That's him as a player doing that, being in the right place. He's strong. He's good on the ball. His distribution was good. I've been really impressed. We have to maintain it. He's had a good start. He's got to maintain it. But I think they started pretty well. Ram, your next pick, my friend. And I'm going to give you...
Is Saul there?
No, I don't know why I've not got him in. I'll add him in a minute. I obviously forgot that Chelsea signed him. Ram, I'm going to give you Emi Buendia.
I'll put him in balling. He's been very good. He's created quite a few tries. I think he scored a goal as well for Aston Villa. A bit like Leon Bailey, he's been quite good for Villa, and they're doing quite well. So yeah, I'll put him in balling.
Balling. Oh, yes. He started all right. He's done well. He's in that space there. Lies, your next pick. We're really getting down to starting to get to some of the big boys now, but I'm going to give you Tavares of Arsenal.
I don't know if Tavares, man. I think for what he is, he's a solid player. I think Arsenal did a really good job this summer of really targeting depth, because I think when you looked at their 11 last year, there was a really good base to clearly build off. But you saw at times against teams like Villarreal, for example, in the semifinal, when they were playing Xhaka at left back because they had no other depth. That's why they went for players like Tavares. Is Tavares ready to come in today at Arsenal and be the starting fullback on either side? I don't think so. And I think Arteta clearly agrees. How good will he be in the future? Again, I'm not really sure. I don't know what to make really of his potential, of his ceiling. I would say average, to be honest with you. I think that's really what he is at this point for me, an average player at the moment. And I think his performances kind of mimic that as well. But I think, honestly, that's what he's there for. He's just there to be depth.
Yeah, I don't think too many people will agree with you in relation to that. Next pick is going to be back with Conroy, and I'm going to give you Brian Hill from Tottenham.
It's a hard one, Terry, because when I've actually watched them, it tended to be, I think it came on a substitute against Chelsea when the game was done. I think it was 2-0. I may be wrong, but in my memory serves me, the game was done. And then also against Arsenal when he came on. So he's had 4 games he's played so far. He had Watford, and then they had the Aston Villa win there. I'm going to say average on that, to be perfectly honest. Now, you could maybe say it's been a terrible start, but I don't know how much of that's his doing, because when you're coming on when your team's already losing, I think it's a bit harsh to put all that on him. So I would go average for that basis that you've not had the chance to watch him play a lot, and it's been 2 wins and 2 losses when he came on. And when he came on those losses, the game's been close to being done. So on that, I think we need to see more from him, but I would give him the benefit of the doubt and say average.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I felt like I agree with you. I feel like he's come on too late in those games as well.
Yeah. What you meant to do, mate? It's like in a football game, you're 4-0 down and you shove him on. It's like
yeah. No, absolutely. Kesh, coming to you next, and I'm going to give you Daka.
Seen much of him,
Leicester fans ain't seen much of him.
I haven't seen much of it.
There's that training clip when he scored the overhead kick, though. They've got that training clip.
Yeah.
That was good.
I'm going to have to put him in average. I've only seen the one goal when he scored. I think it was a League Cup. I have to put him in average. Rating, by the way, though.
Really? Why? Wow.
Daka's one of those players, though, right? Like he was the one at Salzburg, correct? He was the one
Yeah.
at Salzburg. Like he was supposed to be the next guy up from that pool of talent that's clearly been coming from there. I think he's very unfortunate the fact that Jamie Vardy has had this renaissance of his career. Everyone kind of thought that he'd hit a ceiling in his career last season. This year, he's clearly back. Because I think Daka was supposed to be the guy to come in for Vardy and kind of make the easing out process a bit better, but Vardy has just exploded back into form. So I think he's a bit unlucky.
Yeah, he's played 26, according to Who Scored here, looked at across all comps. No, just in the Prem, sorry, I think this might be. 26 minutes he's had, one substitute appearance. Like, I mean, it's one of those things, we say average. I mean, it depends on the reasoning for that, but it's not I would look at that more as a terrible start to his Premier League career. I still think he'll come good because of the talent, but it's like, to only be, we don't know, we never know the reasons. We can only speculate.
You've got Iheanacho as well, though, Terry, in the team. So it's like you've got two people to get ahead of. So I don't know if that's maybe the reason. Possibly not.
Yeah, I mean, but it's about like expectation as well, because I look at both Samari and Daka, and I hope they do well for them as people. But they're two names that, again, everybody in their dogs said, like, bring them into Liverpool or Man United or Arsenal now, and they will ball out in the Prem. It's like, you guys have got to stop playing FIFA. If you and using, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm not saying they weren't talented. Someone said to me the other day, like, Tchouameni is better value for money than Declan Rice. I'm like, you have no idea how Tchouameni is going to do in the Prem. Now, at 30 million versus 80, there's a 50 million pound differential. But trust me, I would rather take the risk on Declan Rice. I think he's going to kill it for you in the Prem because we know he can. Like, Tchouameni could come in at 30 million and just
be a Bakayoko.
Yeah, you could, but people just say things like, "I've watched him play so much." I'm like, "Bro, you don't watch French football. You're lying now." Do you know what I mean?
I'd say Samari rather. I'd say Samari was more of a realistic, like understandable kind of thing because he has proven himself in both in the Europa and but when it came to Daka, when I kept on hearing he's got more goals than Erling Haaland in the same time that they've been there, but we kept on saying he hasn't scored a goal in Europe at all. Like that's the thing that was the main caveat for him. And
you know what is though?
Liverpool, I really didn't want him.
If you look at the type of goals he scored, though, it was always going to be a gamble if he made it in the Prem or not. That's what I would say. It was never really incredible goals. It was mostly just running off the shoulders of defenders and getting a goal like that.
Do you know what it is? There's a comment here that says you wouldn't have said the same thing when Konate was in Ligue 2. Valued for I wouldn't have done, but at the same time, nobody was. And secondly, this is the thing. Konate is the exception that proves the rule. He isn't the rule, and I see that so much with football opinions. People are always talking about the exception to the situation rather than the actual situation. Like to say that a young player that's never kicked a ball at this level of football before, guarantee you he's going to kill it. No, you're guessing and you're hoping that they do it. And every now and then someone arrives and does it. But the vast majority take time to settle. It's just the way that it is.
I think the thing, too, of these players, right? Like, if you notice, they all go to Leicester. And it's not to say Leicester. Like, Leicester is that club that is kind of the bridge between these top clubs that you're talking about. Oh, United should go sign Sumari. Liverpool should go sign Daka. The bridge club in between that is Leicester because they give them the chance to develop. They clearly have an excellent track record of bringing in these kinds of players. Forget about Konate. You've got Riyad Mahrez. You've got Jamie Vardy. Like they have a clear, proven track record of these players making it at Leicester and then selling them for more to another club when they're less of a risk. So for me, Daka, Sumari, that's a perfect destination for them right now.
I hear that, and the comment comes back to some people can spot ability, Terry, but ability and delivery are two very, very different things. There's no doubt about it. Renato Sanchez has ability, hasn't made it at the highest level in the highest leagues, but the ability is there. So I'm not saying that these players haven't got ability. Of course they have. But Man United should sign Samari and start him in central midfield, watch him boss the Premier League. See, what you're doing, my friend, is you're taking my point that that's too much of it's an idiotic thing to think a player that young who's never played here could just walk straight into the Prem and boss the central midfield for a club like Man United. He needs to go into a team, and be slowly nurtured into the side so that his ability doesn't get damaged by the overwhelming expectation that's placed upon him. That's what I'm saying, my friend.
Fabinho took ages, Terry. People forget Fabinho looked off it. Fabinho like he wasn't going to make it out his depth in the first couple. He got played 15 minutes here, could not keep up with the pace, and now people look at him as one of the best DMs in the world. That's a prime example.
And that's a great example, because I was desperate for Man United to sign him because I knew I could see the ability. I could see what he could do. A little different though. He's not an 18, 19-year-old boy either. Like, he was older. It's one of them things. We're going to get into some of the big boys now when it comes to the ranking show. Make sure you've smashed the like button, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe to the Football Terrace as well and turned on the bell notification button. Prime, I'm coming to you first, and I'm going to give you Ben White. Where are you placing Ben White?
Oh,
Do it, Brian.
I like
Do
Ben
it.
White, you know. No, the banter aside, I really do like Ben White, though. I think he's a good centre back, and he's got potential. The thing is the Arsenal effect, because Ben White, based on talent at this moment in time, he's no different to what Callum Chambers was when he was first bought to Arsenal and Rob Holding. I think it's the development plan and like the team around you and the leadership and all of that. Like, because I can see you guys ruining someone like Ben White, and in 3 years' time, you're going to loan him out to like a championship club. You know, and that's the sort of thing you guys seem to do. And he's being paired with Gabriel, who I don't rate at all. I think as of right now, it's a where's the list again? Because I want to put him in, I think, average. Because he hasn't been tested against any of the big boys. Didn't play against Chelsea. I know he got bullied by Ivan Toney, but you know he hasn't played Man United or Liverpool or whatever. So I think I want to see him against one of the big boys and see how he deals with that. But as of right now, I just put him in average.
Pause. I got to dissect some of this, man. First of all, you're talking about Ben White compared to Callum Chambers and Rob. This guy costs £50 million, man. We're not going to compare him now to Callum Chambers. The expectation for him isn't to loan him out. And second of all, Gabriel, I have to completely disagree with that. I think Gabriel, since he's come to Arsenal, has been excellent. And I think he has been one of the most consistent figures in that Arsenal team, specifically this year. Ben White, I'm putting an average because for me, he's an average defender. I think he's extremely overpriced at £50 million. I think he's a great ball player, but I think his defensive ability is suspect, man. And I think that's the big concern of him. I don't think it's a question of, is there the stability? Is there can he play next to Gabriel, who's not? For me, I just worry, is he good enough? But I'm
not looking at the price tag because, like, you know, football, the money in football now is crazy. You know, Lukaku's 100 mil, Maguire's 80. Like, football money's crazy. But based on the talent and the ability, like the praise Callum Chambers was getting when he was first bought from Southampton, it was ridiculous. Rob Holding, I think he came from Championship or something, but again, the praise he got, Wenger has, you know, found another gem and all of this. Like, the praise those two players got is similar to what Ben White got. Like, a year ago, this Rolls Royce of a defender, he's going to come to Liverpool and, you know, be this amazing partner, Van Dijk and all of this stuff. It's a similar type of praise, and I feel he's going to go through the similar path of, in 2-3 years' time, he's just going to be another average, overrated defender.
Go on, Kes. Go on, mate.
I totally disagree with the comparisons to Chambers and the likes of Oldham. In context, Oldham was given credit because he was only bought for 2.5 mil. That's the reason why he was given credit. For a Championship player to come up and bought for 2.5 mil, he's a good Premier League defender. He's not great. He's an average Premier League defender, can play for a mid-table team. There you go. I think with Ben White, yes, his defensive capabilities is probably not as clear to everyone. And I do think he's someone that will improve. I don't think John Stones was the greatest of defenders when he first broke out. Came from Barnsley, went to Everton. I think if you're looking at the way Arsenal want to play, and I know it's not been evident as of such until today, but Arteta wants to play with on the front foot. Just keep possession, keep rotating it. And I think Ben White can do that at the back. I think if you can be a more dominant possession based team, you won't really worry about Ben White so much. I think you have to give him time. I think he will grow. I know he got bullied against Ivan Toney, but as we've seen, Ivan Toney's gone and done that to Matip, like with Van Dijk for playing him. He's that good of a striker. Yes, there will be bigger tests coming for him over the course of the season, and I would hope that he does well. In terms of your slander for Gabriel, I think that is ludicrous. I think Gabriel's been a different beast compared to what he was last season. I think if you look at the way he plays, his leadership skills is actually coming out. I know we always complain and say Arsenal got no leadership. He's actually been the leader of this team so far this season. Since he's come in, we haven't lost. And if you look at his stats from when last season when he played, we've won more games with Gabriel in our team than without.
There we go.
Hold on, sorry. One more game.
Go on, mate. Make your final point.
One more games based on the fact of the rest of your defenders were bad. But what I hear is that Gabriel's one of the best centre backs in the Prem, which he's not. People tell me he's better than and that's the sort of praise and hype I'm talking about. Like, he's not that great of a defender. He's average.
People's gonna be idiots. I don't understand this reading.
Yeah, but and that's just the point I'm trying to make. That from what I've seen of Gabriel, he's nothing special.
He's young. You're not meant to be special at 23.
There's a difference too between not being one of the best center backs in the Premier League and being average. I think there's a middle ground between that, right? Like, he's definitely not an average defender. I think Ben White, and here's going to be maybe a controversial take. I think Ben White's undoing will be William Saliba coming back to Arsenal, and I think there you have a real gem at center back, and he could fix it.
Well, okay, that's another debate for another day, because we've got to keep this rolling on to the next one. But Ben White been placed in average, ladies and gentlemen. Arsenal fans, are you going to save any of your players with them super chats? Let us know. We've got a few super chats to do here. Conroy, do you think will sign more than one player next summer? Because apart from Origi, Taki, Nico, and no one else, we will buy Naby, Ox. I don't really understand because of wages. Will you sign more than one player? Will you sign more than one player, Conroy? He's asking Conroy. What are you saying, Conroy?
I know we get every transfer window. It's like the next summer club or the next summer club. But I think we will. I actually do believe we will next summer. I feel like there's some players the comment mentioned as well that we'll get rid of, and I think we will purchase one or two. I don't think it's going to be, Ram will probably agree, I don't think it's going to be a mental summer. We're not going to sign 5 or 6, but I think it'll be maybe 2 or 3 acquisitions. Hopefully, anyway. Hopefully.
What's important?
Go on quickly, Ram, because we have got to push on with the show.
This is a quick thing. I was going to say, we need to get some of the free agents, because the free agents coming out that their contracts are expiring are pretty good. Like the likes of Kessié, Mazraoui, Belotti.
It's a bit so.
This has already signed his contract, but Brozovic, some really good players.
Again, it's another conversation for another day, but one issue you're going to find with free transfers is they want huge salaries. Free transfers are not free transfers. It's like net spend. It's another lie told about money at clubs. You give a huge amount of sign-on fee and then colossal wages. You start averaging it out, and there's very little difference between paying a fee and not paying a fee. But we'd know that if we were educated properly, not we as in the media educators, right? But there we go. Right, we're going to move forward here. Josh here says, remember, Terry, Ben White has better value than Varane. I did hear an Arsenal YouTuber, someone sent me a clip of an Arsenal YouTuber saying that he is better value than Varane. We will see what happens. We'll see what happens with that one. Right, next pick is actually my pick. Ram, can you pick someone for me, please? Who are you picking for me?
Jackie Grealish.
This is really going to trigger people because my mind hasn't changed since the beginning of the season. Everybody knows that I rate Jack Grealish highly. I think he's one of the most technically gifted football players on the planet. There's no doubt about it. He is. I don't think he's looked that good so far at Manchester City. Very good in the Champions League game with the goal. I think he's looked like Jack Grealish, but City have not been all guns blazing against the decent teams. The ball has moved nicely. It's hard, really, because I don't think he's had a terrible start. I think he's had quite a good start. But I think he's going to flop still. And what I'm basing that on is the logic at the beginning or near the beginning. If Damari Gray is the best signing because of how cheaply he was bought for, Jack Grealish at £100 million, he can't be in balling or killing it because those guys have come in, like Tomiyasu's come in at 10 million or so quid and is performing brilliantly. Damari Gray at 1 point, for me, I feel like he's had an average start. All things being equal, he's had an average start for £100 million player. I expected a bit more from him.
That's the most important thing is the price tag as well.
Yeah, I mean, that has to play a part. I think he's had an average start. I'm tempted, though, to put him into will flop, like a prediction box, because I don't think he's going to live up to the expectation. I really don't think he's going to live up to the expectation. He's come in to push them to the next stage. What's the next stage? Champions League winners. I just don't, and maybe it's because I haven't bought a striker as well, but I'm going to put him in average. I think that's where it's fair to keep him right now. But at £100 million, yeah, it can't be any higher than average. It just can't be for me. Anyone disagree?
I was actually going to disagree with you because for me, like when I saw Jack Grealish on this list, I was thinking, he's had a pretty good start to the season. Like he has been playing every single game for City. He's been playing pretty well. But you're right. It's the £100 million question. Are you living up to that expectation? Not really.
He's not been ruthless yet. He's not been ruthless. Liverpool had several chances to take men on, and he's not done that yet. I think that'll come. I actually disagree, Terry. I think he will hit it, but I agree with what you're saying this so far.
I don't think he will. I've said this kind of from the start of the season. I'm a massive Jack Grealish fan. I think he's amazing, but I don't think in terms of what kind of player he is and what kind of player City is, this move necessarily ever made sense in terms of like footballing wise. And I don't think it will. I don't think he will be able to adapt his game to truly ever be one of City's most impactful players. And for £100 million, that's what you're being brought in to do. So I kind of understand that point. He may actually flop.
Yeah, go on, Kesh.
I don't think he'll flop. I think when you look at when Pep signs certain players, I think it takes them probably 10 to 12 months before they transition into a Pep type of player. I think Pep's going to mold him. You'll probably see certain things change in his game and things like that. I think it's too soon to judge him. And obviously, he might not have the greatest of season this season, and you look back and think, oh, it's £100. I expected you to kick on. But I think over his 5-6 year contract, I think you will see value for money.
Yeah, and we certainly could. I just feel like it's something about him. I think he needs to be a complete free spirit in a team.
But would you not think the comparisons with Mahrez though, Terry? And Mahrez is quite effective for City. On the other side.
But I don't think Mahrez has been as good for City as he was for Leicester, and he should be scoring and creating more for City because they're a better team. But he's still done well. I think this is the point I'm making is when you play in these prescribed systems and they don't change very much. Anytime Pep ever changes, they lose like big games. Like they play a one-way system, and I think what it does, it gets everybody sort of contributing, but you never get that standout. And I sometimes feel like, do you need to spend £100 million to get what you're going to get for the goals and the assists that you're going to get from Jack Grealish? Did you need to spend £100 million? I don't know if you needed to because of the way they play football. But the expectation of £100 million for me, when you're a creator or a scorer, your outputs need to be Bruno Fernandes, KDB, peak level above for it to be a good signing. Your job is to create goals and score goals. Now, if you're creating the chances but people are not finishing them, you've got a pass if you're a creator. So if he's creating the most amount of chances in the league and people aren't finishing them, that's not on Jack Grealish, but he isn't doing that as of yet, as far as I can see. And the price tag's always going to play a part. And you'll see when I get onto Man United players later, it's the same thing, and the price tag plays a part and if we're not going to include price tags, then we can't rate Gray as high as he is based on £1.5 million. Like we have to be consistent when we're doing this.
Has he not created the most big chances for City before the last game?
I think he has, but I think it's one of those ones too that if you look at the way his chances are actually created, it's not like a De Bruyne chance that's being created. It's not like a Trent chance. It's not like a chance that's being put on a plate. It's more so through his dribbles, through the way he brings players into play. That's how the big chances are.
So I'll give you an example in terms of chances created in the league this year. And then I've got to do some super chats, and we have got to move on. There's some other guys to do, but Trent is ruling the roost at the minute with 4.2 per game, as an example. Bruno Fernandes 3.3 per game. Matt Ritchie at Newcastle 3 a game. Pascal Gross at Brighton, 2.8. Jimenez on 2.7. Then Jack Grealish is level with Mo Salah and Luke Shaw on 2.6. It's good. I'm not saying he isn't performing, but £100 million, you've got to be outstripping Bruno Fernandes, who's playing for a PE teacher with no system. You can't, like, you get what I mean? Like, I'm the expectation is massive for him, I think. Super chats here. Headband man for 100 million when Foden is right there, is what SB CFC's got to say. We have a super chat here that says Grealish, best player, Irish, underage system produced. Is what he says there. Yes, so they definitely helped to produce him. That's a contentious subject which we're not going to delve into now live on the air. That's where Grealish has been placed by me. Average start to the season. If you want to change it or save it, get your super chats in. People, next up, I'm going to Ram. Ram, I'm giving you...
Can I have Saul?
Saul Niguez.
There's only one place for him. Terrible start and will flop. I had my comments, reservations on Saul Niguez. I was humbled, ridiculed for my comments saying that I wanted Marcel Sabitzer over world-class Saul Niguez. And I said, he is not the Saul Niguez that played in 2016. He looks, the player that people are thinking of is Marcos Llorente. He will flop and he'll go straight back to Atletico and he's going to find a new club. That's the end. Saul.
He's only played one game though, Ram. I mean,
I don't care if he played. He got outclassed. He got picked. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Ruben left butt cheek, got picked over Saul Niguez.
Ruben Loftus-Cheek just played like 50 games in the Premier League though.
I'm sorry, no. He is meant to be this world-class player. He needs to be fighting for those positions, and he's not. So he's flopped so far, and he will flop.
Lies, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think Saul, like, he was one of my favorite players, like, in that period where, like, Simeone, Zanetti were really challenging in Europe. Like, he was one of my favorite players, but it's been very clear the last few seasons that he has just been on a downward spiral. I know he had personal issues with his personal life. He was playing left back last season for Atletico Madrid a lot of the time. Like, this is no longer the same midfielder that was dominating Pep's Bayern Munich midfield. It's not the same guy anymore. And you can say, yeah, Loftus-Cheek, he has all this Premier League experience. Saul was brought in to be a backup for the likes of Konate, Jorginho, and Kovacic. If Loftus-Cheek and even last game, Barkley are coming in midfield to be backups over Saul, I think for me that kind of shows you his
it's
status.
one game, mate. How many good players have been terrible? Fabinho was terrible in his first game. Like, I just think perspective has got to be put into this. Perspective.
That's cool. I agree. He's a flop. No one's adding in the context.
No, guys, one at a time. We can't hear you. What were you saying, Prime?
It's cool. I agree. He's a flop, but no one's adding in context of he hasn't played consistently in over a year. But it's cool. He's a flop.
People said he was world class.
No Chelsea fan said currently he's world class. No Chelsea fan said that.
No, but people said he was world class.
Which Chelsea fan said he's currently world class? Which Chelsea fan said that?
I don't think you talk about Chelsea.
It's like people say that Gabriel was one of the best centre backs. It's the same. It's the same.
No, but again, find me Chelsea fans that said that. Find me Chelsea fans that said that. That's my point.
But what's it got to do with Chelsea fans saying it?
Because what Chelsea fans have said that Saul's world class.
I think as Kestra said, I think I was someone who thinks he's top class. I don't know if I ever said he was world class. I might have done. So I'm not a Chelsea fan. I thought he would do better than he did. But where I disagree with Ram, it's like, you guys just gave a prime example about Fabinho joining the Prem, and it took him a number of games. He couldn't keep up with the pace. He was struggling. To then just write off Saul Niguez before seeing him play at least 2 or 3 more times is crazy for me. To completely write him off at this moment in time.
I don't think you're writing him off, but what will be a determining factor in if he actually has a good season with Chelsea is if he's willing to put up that fight, because now you're seeing a rejuvenated Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Is he going to be up to put up that fight?
I think he will. Sorry, Terry, what are the 2 bottom tiers that you have? Sorry. It's one that you have one that says it'll flop, but he'll come good. Yes. I think that will be Saul. I think people talking about like Ruben and Barkley right now. Again, it's one game. We're in October. Or we barely ended October.
I thought it was really nice to see those 2 do well, but I also thought at the same time, I've seen them both have good games before for Chelsea. I felt like saying to Chelsea, it's just slowed down a bit. Like, they'd have been gone. Your manager wanted them gone. Just nobody paid the right money for them. But look, who knows what's going to happen? We will see. That's where he's been placed. Next up, I'm back with Lies. for his final pick of the night. And Lias, I'm giving you Lukaku.
Lukaku. Ooh.
Lukaku.
This is a tough one.
Please.
For me, I was originally going to say killing it, but when I think about it, it's not that he's been amazing. He has been Romelu Lukaku. He came into the Premier League. He's always scored goals in this league. He was always going to score goals when he came back. But for me, killing it was last season for Inter, right? Where he was literally a one-man attack for Chelsea. And he has been very good for them. But I would say balling. I think Lukaku still has a level to go in this Chelsea team. And I think he will reach it because I rate Romelu Lukaku extremely high. But I don't think he's reached it yet. I think he still needs to acclimatize. And I think it's also not completely on him. The surrounding parts around him, whether it be Havertz, whether it be Werner, Ziyech, Pulisic, they have been rotating in and out. I don't think Chelsea have found their best attack. And I think once they do, then you will see the true Romelu Lukaku that has developed so well at Chelsea under Antonio Conte. But this one, I will say, is balling. I don't think he's killing it.
Yeah,
Come on, bro. Yeah, I mean, Prime. I mean, you're obviously a Chelsea fan. Like, have you been impressed with his start? Have you been underwhelmed?
I've loved Lukaku so far, but what Liaz just said is what I've been saying after every match review. It's what I said in the summer. Our forward line, like this weird stat of we create chances, is not necessarily true. Like we don't create enough clear-cut chances for players to be able to score, and right now they just don't seem to be in any sort of form. You know, like against City and Juventus, that massively showed. Against when we played Crystal Palace first game of the season, we went 1-0 up quite quickly from a free kick, and then that allowed us to just kind of coast through the game. Again, same thing against Arsenal. The game was quite easy, and we just coasted through the game. We should have went for more. Against Aston Villa, Saul's debut, we got ripped apart, and Mendy saved us from going 1 or 2-0 down. But again, we didn't create enough. Lukaku only got 2 chances in that game and he scored. Against Senate, Lukaku only got 1 chance and he scored. We're not creating enough, and that could be our downfall in this title race if we don't click into form. Because even Antonio Conte said it, if we find the right system and the players to suit Lukaku, he will kill it and fire us to a title. But it's based on everyone else, not him.
My question towards Chelsea fans is, if I think Lukaku is world class, if he is this world class striker, can't he do more off the ball? Because if you look at the likes of Lewandowski and Harry Kane, their movement off the ball, the way they can affect the game without having the ball is critical in their team scoring goals, regardless if they ever score a goal. So I feel as though when Lukaku doesn't get the service, he just acts like a lump up front and doesn't do anything other than just wait for the ball to come to him. Don't you think you should ask more of him to make more of an impact off the ball?
He does.
If he is
Lukaku and Harry Kane, 2 world-class strikers. But again, when you look at Harry Kane, and because he's someone who I wanted over Lukaku, when you look at what he does and his movement, him dropping in and linking play, the Spurs attack just don't finish their chances. Whereas someone like Lewandowski, he plays in the Bayern Munich team that is one of the best in the world. So
yeah, but
contrasting difference. It's the same thing with Chelsea.
But your team is one of the best in the world. You fucking European champion.
Our attack. I'm talking about the attack itself.
Your team is. I don't think Chelsea, again, with what you've spent and the plethora of talent you've got, I don't think you have that excuse. Lukaku, for me, do you know what his biggest issue is? It's not even an issue which is like on him. He looks like someone that should be good because he's big, tall, and strong. He looks like he should be brilliant at hold-up play, bringing other people into the game, dropping deep and doing a bit on the ball and playing a ball through. He should actually be about 5'9", like Michael Owen, and playing off the shoulder. That's what he is. He's a traditional kind of, I wouldn't call him a goal poacher, but when he goes through one-on-one, he's good. Tap-ins from the 6-yard box when balls are fed through. I'm not calling him a tap-in merchant at all. But that's his game. He's got strength and pace. So at times he doesn't twine people up. He puts the ball past someone and powers past them and shoots. These ain't bad attributes. That's what he is as a striker. You need to build. That's why he looked good the other day when he had Werner around him that was doing a little bit more of the running work, and you've got someone that can bring him into play. He's never going to be able to play ball out on the ball like Lewandowski, like Luis Suarez could, like Harry Kane could. He isn't that type of football player. But I think people expect him to do it. He's a different type of striker. He's more off the shoulder.
Not even on the ball, but just his movement in and around the box without the ball. Like Lewandowski, the reason why the likes of Sane and Gnabry get so many goals is because Lewandowski's movement is absolutely fantastic. He creates so much space for them to get those opportunities. The West Thomas Muller has such a good goal scoring record as well. And like Harry Kane before the last season when he was at Tottenham, him and Son not only had a great link up play, but he also off the ball he would make some brilliant moves off the ball. And I feel like Lukaku, if he's world class, would be doing those kind of things.
Go on, Prime. Sorry, Prime. Go on, final point.
But if you can have all the movement in the world, if your attacker not doing anything for you, like it's sort of useless. Like he has movement, but our attack just isn't firing at the moment.
Yeah. I hear that. He's been placed into average. Chelsea fans, if you want to, placed into balling. If you want to move it, change it, get them super chats in. Let us know what you think and feel. Next up, Conroy, I'm giving you Jadon Sancho.
Yeah, it's not been a very good start, has it? I'm not going to really go for the jugular one because I actually do think he's a very, very good footballer. I'll go for terrible, will come good. I've been thinking I was kind of toying with average, but I just don't think little glimpses, but not enough for me. I think he has played, is that 7 games, 7 games, Terry? And I'm not a stats merchant, I'm not on that, but for me, he's just not done enough. So I'd say, do you think I've been harsh? I think terrible start will come. He'll definitely come good because he is outstanding. Like, there's no doubt about that. But I just think it's been a terrible start. I'd put him in terrible start will come good.
Yeah. As a Man United fan, Lies, like, how do you feel about Sancho's start?
I think you kind of summed it up pretty well. I will say, I think this is another potential Van de Beek situation this year. Not as dramatic as last year, because I do believe Sancho will adapt better because he has a better skill set, a more advanced skill set. But I do believe it's another case of we've signed a player that we have no idea how to use. I think a lot of United fans saw Jadon Sancho come in and thought, oh, this is the answer to our right-wing problems. But if you were really paying attention, Jadon Sancho has probably been playing better on the left-hand side for Dortmund the last 2 years. He's come into that side. And I think another thing is the way United plays their wingers, it's more of like the Rashford-esque winger. It's more of the Greenwood-esque winger. Sancho is more of a guy who wants to get on the ball, get other players involved, get intricate, link up with his left back. I don't think the team has done enough of themselves. The manager has done enough to get him playing his best game. I will say, though, he is a winger. He needs to be taking players on more. He needs to be making things happen more. I don't think he's done enough in that regard, but I worry how he'll be able to adapt this season because just the way the team plays and the way he plays, for me, is on a completely different page.
It's an interesting one because I agree completely with Conroy. It's been a terrible start for him as an individual, but I'm very confident he'll come good. I thought against Everton when he came on, he looked very good. Some of the ways he took people on, he was finding space. The whole left-right thing, I think it's either. I've seen him play many times for Dortmund and look great on both sides. And that's what excites me, that he can cover both. I want him to be predominantly used on the right-hand side because we have nobody over there. I think when Rashford returns, it will keep him there more. But it hasn't been a good start. But I do think the system plays a part in that. This is where Ole Gunnar Solskjaer... It's interesting, actually, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has always been kind of not praised for this. He's been ridiculed for it, but he gets away with having star quality is what helped him. I think why Ole's drowning now is he has so much star quality. He doesn't know what to do with it. You know, it reminds me a bit of that. Is it Mickey Carroll? That chap who won like £10 million on the lottery and just spent it all on bangers and stupid, like wasted it. It's like he's just wasting the talent that he's got because he doesn't know how to set a system up to get the best out of them all. And when Rashford returns, I actually think it's going to get worse. So a lot of people are saying, stop the excuses. He's just a flop. The irony in it is 3 of the people that have said it in the comments were telling me earlier that you shouldn't write off Samari because he's got great ability. But yet I'm meant to write off my own player who we know has got great ability. It's about adapting. It's about a little bit of time in the league. It's about getting used to a different system. I also think if we had a better manager, he would also do better. But I've said that about all of our players for years. I'm confident he'll come good, though. And I think it will take a goal or an assist or a really good performance, and you'll see him come to life massively. But it's been a very underwhelming start from Jadon Sancho. And it's gutting to see because, if he was performing like he was at Dortmund and, scoring and creating the goals, we'd be sitting top of the league right now if we had a player that was additionally adding those goals and assists. But it just hasn't come.
I think his performances too, Terry, are getting better. I think if you watch every United player, every United game, he is looking more and more at home. The last game against Everton, I thought his cameo was actually very promising. So I am looking forward to seeing him improve game after game.
Yeah, I agree. And look, if he had a better shot from that little back heel from Ronaldo, or if he'd actually what he should have done is dinked it to the back post where Bruno was free. But I think that shot he took was because he's trying too much. It's like he was trying to score the goal, where I think if he was more relaxed and settled, what he would have done in that situation was dink the ball over. A comment here says, does Bundesliga tax apply to Sancho?
No, because it applies to everyone. I mean, I'm saying this because quite a lot of my favorite players that do play in the Bundesliga, like Lewandowski, but again, I don't know why I'm sticking up for a United player, but it is what it is. Jadon Sancho is a fantastic talent, but he just needs time to get settled back into English football. And given the circumstances that's going on at Manchester United, it doesn't help. So he hasn't had a great start, but he's going to be a great player.
I think a lot of it as well is this massive hype and expectation. Because when we did our predictions start of the season, and I put Sancho down to be a flop, I based it off of people expected him to just come in straight away and start firing. Like, I remember in the summer, Terry was saying he won't have an adaptation period. People were saying he won't have a problem adapting. He'll be fine, because he's grown up in England and he's English and stuff like that. Like, he hasn't played in the Premier League before. It's going to be a shock to him. It's going to take some time to settle. And when he does start performing a bit, because he's not going to have necessarily the same stats that he's had in the past 2 years, people are still going to call him a flop. It's going to take him until next season when he's actually kicking it, where people will start respecting him.
Yeah, I don't really care what people call him. It's about what he delivers as. And look, he's having some time to adapt to Manchester United. I don't think it's a Bundesliga, Premier League thing. I think it's new club and it's just him settling in. He's played 235 minutes in all comps. That equates to 2.5 games. He hasn't played a lot of football yet. And there's actually been some of the games where he's come on where we were already winning, where I'm like, just keep him off the pitch. He doesn't need to come on here, because people look at the total appearances and go, 7 appearances, no goals. When actually you look at the minutes, it's 2.6 games. It's not that bad. Like, if someone had played 2 games and hadn't scored or assisted, nobody would be saying anything. He just needs that. He had been given that little bit of time to adjust and adapt and everything else. I thought he would hit the ground running. Wrong about that. But I still think he's going to have a good season and have good outputs and deliver. But one thing I will say, I'll give him the same energy as Jack Grealish to a degree. The money was big. When you have that much money spent on you, you have to, like, same as Pepe got, you have to deliver. And if we get like 3 months into the season and he isn't coming off the bench, where I disagree with Lies a little bit is you've got to do something to prove yourself. Now, I don't think we play the right system for Donny van der Beek. We may not play the right system for Jadon Sancho. That's then on the football club to make an adjustment to how we play football, like change how we play. We're buying these talents and we're not playing the right football for them. That's bad management. That's malpractice. What are you doing? But it'll be interesting to see what happens. It's going to be even harder. We know when Rashford's fit, Rashford plays. Everyone knows Rashford's going to play. So it's going to be interesting to see how they all fit in with all the other players as well. A comment here from YouTuber that says United should have got Grealish and Sancho, City to Sancho. Do you know what's funny about that? Grealish is a much better player when he's a free spirit, and Sancho maybe needs a system. So that might not be a bad shout there, my friend.
That's a cracking comment, to be fair. It's a very good comment.
It is. Liverpool haven't played with a proper 9 for 6 years, but no one uses that. We haven't gone and spent 150 million on one as an excuse for not winning.
Bit of a hyperbole, that.
Yeah, I mean, it's relative. If you sold Salah tomorrow, the only way you replace him is by spending that much money. You can't get another Salah for less than that, like to deliver the output level anyway. But there we go. We're going to move on to the final 2. Remember, get your super chats in if you want to move anybody up or down. Next pick is going to go to Kesh. And Kesh, I'm giving you Raphael Varane.
I'm going to put him in average. We know what the expectation has come with Varane. I think if you watch him over the course of the Champions League and the Premier League, there have been a few mistakes in him. And this is why I say, when people judge defenders, like, just because you're good, you will never make a mistake. I find that pretty weird. But at the same time, I don't think he's settled as of yet in the team. I think he will improve over the course of the season, but my expectations of Varane is very high, and he hasn't lived up to it as of yet.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I completely agree, and I think that the mistake thing's really weird because when he made that mistake in the Champions League, where it looked like he was going to clear the ball and he missed it, I honestly just my heart sunk because I'm like, that's the story of that game now for him. But we all do it as fans now. We wait for one mistake from a player and it's like, see, I told you. But yeah, he's been. I would agree. I think he's been average. What about yourself, Lies? Would you say average start from Varane, or do you think he's been better?
Varane is a weird one for me because I look at his game individually and like I feel like when you watch most of his performances, he one-on-one defending is pretty solid, right? I that's the way I see it. But you still have this issue with Man United, and for me, it's a team unit. They get split. That defense gets broken like 3 times a game. Like I've never seen a top team concede as many big chances as United does. And you know what? When you buy Maguire for that much money, you can question it. When you buy Wan-Bissaka, you can question it. When you buy Raphael Varane and you replace Lindelof with Varane, swap for swap, and you're still conceding that many big chances. For me, I go back to the manager. I go back to the coaching staff. I go back to where is the defensive organization? Because yeah, you can bring in all these players. You can bring in different pieces here and there. But if the same shit is happening, I think eventually you got to start looking at who's organizing that back four.
Mate, you're absolutely spot on. You're absolutely spot on. It's one of the biggest frustrations I have is the goal we conceded against Everton, as an example. We're winning, so why have we got everybody bombing forward like it's the 95th minute and we need an equaliser so that we're susceptible to account? We don't need to do it. But we were doing that last year away in Istanbul, as an example. We did it in the Newcastle game earlier on this season. The way we nearly conceded the loss. If it wasn't for, I mean, I have no idea why Davis passed the ball, but we tried to counter, but we had nobody on that field of play. It's almost, where's the awareness? I go, do you know what? I'm the only guy in this zone. If I bomb forward and lose the ball, there's a big hole behind me. That's a setup thing because the issue I have with Man United is the squad's got better year on year, but the same mistakes persist. That's where I start to look beyond the player. If you have the same issues with different players, it's not the players for me. It's the setup around things. And, you know, for ages now, I've been talking about Maguire, and it's like, I know a lot of people don't like Gareth Southgate, but I think defensively we set up, he's a much better, his system is a lot more solid than Ollie's is. He looks really good for England all the time. He looked really good at Leicester because the setup was solid and it was key and they weren't being broke down. When you look at Liverpool, as good as your defenders are, your midfield for years has protected them. And by the way, that's right. Because when Man United's defenders are far too often exposed to one-on-one defending. And when you're one-on-one defending against players with pace, it doesn't matter how good you are, you're going to get taken on. You're going to get beaten at times unless you have blistering speed. And there's only a handful of defenders that have ever had that, you know. John Terry, one of the greatest centre-backs in Premier League history. If he was exposed, how we expose Maguire and Raphael Varane every single game, he'd have been a laughing stock. Because he wouldn't have been, you just knock it past him and run. Like, so it definitely, the structure is a big thing. There's no doubt about it whatsoever.
Terry, there's a famous quote by Jose Mourinho where he goes, you can defend in 3 ways in football. You can defend in a high block, you can defend in a mid block, and you can defend in a low block. And all 3 are acceptable ways of defending. Problem with Man United is they don't defend in either of those blocks. It's just complete vibes. Like everyone is all over the place 90% of the game. And that's for me why there's so many chances created to the opposition.
No, I completely hear you. We're going to move on to the final one for Prime, and I'm going to give you Cristiano Ronaldo. Where are you placing Cristiano Ronaldo?
Ronaldo. Let me see the tiers again, please.
How do you keep needing to see him? We've been here for an hour and 30 minutes.
Right. I forget things. Ronaldo. As of right now, I'm going to go balling. I think what he's done, what he's came here to do, which is score goals. He scored the openers, the winners. He's been important, and like I don't think there's anything much people can say. People that are saying that he's finished or that he's done, or you know, are just stupid. They either haven't watched him at Juventus or they're just Messi fanboys. Like this guy is still one of the best players in the world, you know. And Man United, he will be in the final.
I want to ask a rival a question here. I want to ask Conroy a question. I've seen Man United fans, I've seen rival fans in recent days completely disregard him. Forget what he's done in his past. We're talking about the player he is now. Tapping Merchant and, zero impact on the game if he isn't scoring. Do you think that's a fair analysis of Cristiano Ronaldo?
No, because I think we all know that if we know football, I think I had a video and before he started and I said, I guarantee he scores against Newcastle on his debut. And he's more than that, but I feel like you've got to remember as well that he is still human in the sense of he's probably superhuman, but he's still human, his body ages. So for him, the way he looks at the game now is he's a number 9 and that's his strength and he's got to play to that. And that's the position he's evolved into now. But I think he's outstanding. And even if it comes down to his movement, his ruthlessness, you say the tapping merchants, and we all know, listen, I love Messi. We all know, I'm not getting an argument, you know that, but you've still got to credit how good Ronaldo is. And it's like, you talk about the tappings, but it's his movement that gets him there. And as Prime said, they're important goals as well. They're important times. But I'm not surprised one bit about what and no one really should be, because if you know football, you know the impact he's going to have. So for me, I know there's been obviously a lot about his presence in the Premier League, but I think he'll easily score between 15 and 20 goals a season in the Premier League. No doubt. I'd be very surprised if he didn't. And I feel like calling him a tapping merchant is just tongue-in-cheek, because he's an outstanding footballer. And he's the way he's evolved as well from being a winger, a number 9. You cannot discount that. He's an unbelievable player.
It's true. Listen, like, to get onto a tapping, you have to have instincts. Like, if you put Martial in those tapping situations, you don't move towards that ball. You don't get to that. It's instinct. It's natural born instinct. You can't teach that.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, there's a lot of comments here. It doesn't work hard. It doesn't do enough for the team. He's literally offering nothing from play and everything else. I mean, Lies, like, do you agree with that? Do you feel like the team is less of a team when Ronaldo's in it? You're on mute, bro.
On mute, mate.
This is a really interesting topic for me, and I love the super chat that you just got. Should he be used as an inside forward? I think he should, to be honest with you. I think that's where, honestly, he's played the last few years. I know, Conor, you said he is a number 9. I don't think he is a number 9 because...
I don't think he's got the pace anymore to be a wing forward, though, mate. I think you need to pace.
Yeah, maybe not, but I don't think he provides enough in terms of hold-up play, in terms of running the channel, which I don't expect him to do. That's never been his game. His best attributes outside of his finishing is his movement off the ball, and that's getting other people involved. But I've always thought that Cristiano Ronaldo is at his very best when he has someone to play off of, whether it be Benzema, whether it be Rooney, whether it be even Morata at Juventus. And I know people have talked about playing Cavani and Ronaldo together. Could that unlock another level, not just out of Ronaldo, not just out of Cavani, but the rest of the team? Because with Ronaldo just kind of sitting up front by there, he doesn't really press a lot. Like I said, he's not really getting involved in build-up, which, again, I'm not expecting him to. That's never been his game. But to the question, would he improve United if used in a different way? I think there's a fair argument. I think you look, especially the Everton game, when he came on, and this is, I do not want to be coming off as a Ronaldo hater. He has been incredible since he came back to United. I think there's an argument to say that the play slowed down and United got a little more predictable once Cristiano Ronaldo came out of the pitch against Everton.
I think...
Yeah, go on, Kesh.
I think United just needs a bit more structure. Like, in terms of, I feel like Bruno roams around too much. I think he should probably play a bit more closer to Ronaldo, which will help him out, and you'll keep a better shape where you don't need Ronaldo to be pressing all over the pitch so much.
Well, a bit like Muller and Lewandowski.
Yeah, a bit like that.
Yeah, like, what's really interesting listening to everyone's thoughts on all the United players is it's all about system. It's all about, can the manager get the right. So you are right. When he came, the thing is, everybody wants to always deduce it down to the player. The player did badly. Now, if the system works most of the time and a new player comes in, but your system's working, then I put it on the player. The player's got to adapt to a working system. Man United's system, what I find really interesting is people say, some people are saying he's dead and he shouldn't be in our team, he ruins the system. I've also proclaimed for 2 years that there is no system. So that's the thing. I don't think there is a system. I want to rephrase that because I've just hypocrisized myself. There is a system, but it's whether or not there's two things to it now. It's, do we use a system that Cavani made very good for the majority of the second half of last season? Cavani got the best out of Manchester United's system. Ronaldo isn't Cavani. So he isn't getting the same out of the system. So it's a case of Ollie's got to find a way to adjust his system to either get the best out of Ronaldo or not use Ronaldo in a position where it weakens us. And that's, again, it's on Ollie making the right decision. Do I think we're completely freestyle, no system, no approach? We don't work on patterns in training? No. But it's about using your best players at the right times. And interestingly, you're thinking about the inside forward thing. I felt on Saturday when we were 1-0 up, I was happy for Ronaldo to come on. But I think you bring Ronaldo on and you keep Cavani on the pitch. You get the second goal, and then you take Cavani off as an example. That, for me, is how you get the best out of him. And it's a case of what was great about Cavani was his pressing, was his running, was the space that he was creating in the box. You took that away and put Ronaldo there. That only works then if your system is going to create enough chances for Ronaldo in the box, and it didn't work. And that's what Ollie this season is going to live or die by. When you've got that level of quality, you need to bring the right. It's putting the right peg, like the square pegs into the square holes and the round pegs into the round ones. And Ollie, too many times this season, hasn't got it right. It's just, do you know what? All these class players, they can all make my system work. It doesn't work like that, you know. And I feel like maybe, I'm not saying Ronaldo was wrong for Manchester United, but it's going to be interesting to see how it moves forward. And the scary bit for me as a Man United fan is watching what we're going to do when Rashford comes back, because Rashford's going to play. Then it's like Greenwood's positions are under threat. When does Sancho come in and get used? Bruno's never being dropped either. So Bruno and Rashford are playing every game when they're fit. We know that. That's what Ollie does. It's how we then fit Sancho, Greenwood, Ronaldo, and Cavani into those other positions. That's what Ollie's got to get right. And by the way, I don't care who starts. I don't care who's on the bench. I care that we win, and I care that we beat teams. And it's going to be an interesting one indeed. Terry, are you Ollie in now? I haven't said that for a single second. In every Man United player, I've criticised the manager. I really don't get it, bruv. How you've heard Ollie in from what I've said there. That's the strangest comment of the night, but thank you anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the final tier. As you can see it, you've got 10 minutes left to get any super chats in. If you want to change it, move anybody up or down in relation to that. If you want to get that done, crack on with that now. Get that done for us, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for all the super chatters so far. 10 minutes to move any player up or down. In relation to this list, though, gents, what we haven't done yet, and I want to ask you this, I want to go to Conroy first on this question. Who of the signings we've spoken about, who do you think is going to be the signing of the season? Who have you looked at and gone, okay, might have had a slow start? Who's going to be the guy that by the end of the campaign you think we're going to say he was the man?
Demarai Gray. No, I'm only joking. I would say over that. Can I see the list quickly again, Terry, if that's okay, just for 2 secs? Mm-hmm. For me, it's a hard one because I think Ronaldo's going to get 15 to 20 goals anyway. So we could easily put him in there. And as you said, Grealish compared with the price, it's a difficult one. I think, to be honest, I'm going to go out in the line. I think Ings will maybe score 20 goals, and for 30 million, 18 to 20 goals is a great return. So I'm going to go for Danny Ings. It's been my signing in the season. On percentage of the value of the money. You can maybe actually, I'm going to change that because how much was Ronaldo? 22 million. I think Ronaldo will probably be the signing of the season because if he hits about 20, which I think he will, that's going to be more than worth the money and the value. So I'll go for Ronaldo.
How about yourself, Ram?
Yeah, I have to agree. Ronaldo. I mean, I saw a comment saying Lukaku is inevitable. No, Cristiano Ronaldo is inevitable. He scores goals. He will get 25 goals.
The same. 90 million for Lukaku, 22 million for Ronaldo. You know
exactly. Like it's hard. Is the price tag alone and the quality of player that he is. Like Ronaldo will be signing of the season, no doubt.
It's an interesting one, really. I hope that he is. I really, really do. Prime, who would be your pick?
Ronaldo, because I was going to say this during when I picked Ronaldo, but I think signal cut out. I think with Ronaldo, it's a thing of, because if Ollie can get you guys to the semi-finals and finals, Ronaldo is that guy to get you over the line. You know, against, for example, Villarreal in the Europa League, he scores and you guys win the game 2-1. You know, it doesn't go into extra time or it doesn't go into penalties. Ronaldo will be that deciding factor to get you over the line. I think in terms of the mentality, your squad, some of your bigger players that don't turn up in important moments will start to. And that is what's most important. Because I know people disrespect Ollie way too much, and he might not be a world-class manager or perfect, but he's good enough to get you to a certain point. Ronaldo will get you over that line, and that's why he'll be signing of the season.
How about yourself, Kesh? You're on mute, bro.
I think Konate, personally, I think over the course of the season, you'll probably see the likes of Matic get an injury, and I think
it will happen, mate. He will get injured, I guarantee.
And he'll form a solid partnership with Van Dijk.
It's a good shout. That's a good shout, to be fair. It's a very good shout. I feel like it could end up be someone that hasn't hit the ground running yet. I feel like Varane could come good. For us, it really depends if Ollie goes or stays, if I'm being honest. I think for all the Man United players, any one of those United 3 could become the signing of the summer. I'm just not convinced it's going to happen under Ollie if he can't get the best out of them or adapt his system enough to make it work. Lies, what about yourself? Who's the guy that you think will stand up and make himself be counted?
I was just about to say the same thing. For me, I understand that Ronaldo shots 100%. But for me, Cristiano Ronaldo will score 15, 20, 25 goals regardless of what happens with United this year, regardless. Whether they're good, whether they're bad, he will get his numbers. So for me, when I think of signing of the summer, yeah, who's been the best player, but who's also had the most impact on their team's success? For me, I think the management has a bigger impact on United being a better team than they were last year than Ronaldo. For me, the guy who I think has the potential to have the biggest impact on his team is Lukaku, because I think if he's able to replicate what he did last year for Inter, Chelsea, the name of the game for them is goals. They need goals to win them games because their defense is able to keep any team out of a game. For me, Lukaku, if he can replicate not just the output, but the dominance that he had against opposition backlines, I think he could be the difference in firing Chelsea to a Premier League title.
It's an interesting a lot of people in the comments are sort of saying we're giving excuses to the Man United players. I would say this. If Klopp signs a player to play in his system and the player doesn't work, because we know Klopp's system works, they're a flop. When you're saying a system doesn't work or there is no system and a player doesn't adapt to that too well, there's an element where you can say it's on the player, but at the same time you're saying they're being coached by a PE teacher. Like, you've got to be consistent. Like, I think it's key. There's a great question here. It says if Lukaku scores 15 goals and Ronaldo scores 25, but Chelsea win the league, who will be the better signing? Is it stats or impact?
Depends on the goals, isn't it? Like, if he scores a bunch of clutch goals, like if he scores against Liverpool, scores against City, scores against the top 6 teams in vital moments, then I'd say, or scores a last-minute winner against an Aston Villa or anybody else, then I'd say he have a better impact. But if Ronaldo scores 25 goals and they finish second, I think is really dependent on the context behind each one of their goals.
I think when we're looking at value monetary right now, because we're not at the very end of the season, but what I would say, Chelsea winning the league is not like a City winning the league or Liverpool winning it because of recent success. It does get them over the line. So it is a good question because it does make it tighter. And I would kind of edge towards saying Lukaku be the common denominator. Even I've taken into the value already, but just because that's kind of getting them over the line to winning the Champions League and the Premier League back to back, which is some achievement. So I actually think Lukaku, if that was the way it went, I would go with Lukaku.
Yeah, it's an intriguing one. I think Lukaku's got a shout. I look at Ramsdale as a really good shout for it, because I think if he can maintain how he started, the way everyone can laugh. If he maintains, it's like all these players. If Lukaku goes on for the rest of the season and plays like he did in his second year at Man United, then he isn't going to be that player. He's done that before, But if Ramsdale can maintain what he's done, I think he's got an absolute shout at being it. I think.
You know what amuses me?
Go on, mate.
You know what amuses me? Like, everyone laughed at the idea that Ramsdale could actually improve and go on and be a player, but you guys clearly wasn't watching Emile Martinez. You wasn't.
Emile Martinez was horrendous until about 2 years ago.
Yeah, Martinez was horrendous against us. Kelleher was horrendous against us.
Exactly. So why is it so impossible to believe that Ramsdale could go on?
Because when you start buying keepers who need to improve, that's the problem straight away. I'm a Liverpool fan. I know this. You need to buy someone who's ready to be competent to step in.
You bought someone ready. you needed someone that's ready to make a mark because you was at that stage of your trajectory where you needed to start winning. Arsenal's not at that stage right now.
But I feel like, mate, name one team when they signed a player from a low team like that. Jordan Pickford from Sunderland, Mineley from Sunderland. Best scenario is there a mid-table keeper? Best scenario.
Do you know what? I mean, it's an interesting one. Go on, Prime.
What does because you're Ramsdale for player of the or signing of the season? Sorry, what does he have to do? Like like Lukaku pushes towards winning the league.
So if you look at the games he's had so far, Ramsdale, he has made game-changing, game-saving saves, point-saving game saves in all those matches so far. I think about the fact of the save he made that would have made it 3-2 with 5 to 10 minutes to go in the North London derby. For me, if that's Leno and it goes in, doesn't mean you're going to lose or draw. It doesn't mean you're going to draw. But Arsenal being Arsenal, the confidence being vulnerable, it would have made that last 5 minutes plus injury time very nerve-wracking. He saves it. There was a ball that came in at the weekend, and Maupay is going to put it in the back of the net. There's those moments. There's things that he's done, which Arsenal goalies haven't done for a while now. When you think about all our clubs have had great goalkeepers, if he keeps performing like that and saving the team at times. By the way, everyone's talking about Mo Salah being player of the season, and he's definitely on his way to doing that. There's another shout that hasn't been mentioned, and it's a goalkeeper reference for the Ramsdale. If David De Gea keeps doing what he's doing so far this season, he could be the player of the season. Now, you never really want your player, you never want a goalkeeper to be player of the season because it tells you there's problems elsewhere in your team. But as an individual, like, you can't take away from that. Like, you can't say David De Gea can't be the player of the season because he shouldn't have had to have made the saves. The fact is, he's had to make them. And I look at Ramsdale as being, he might have to come to Arsenal's rescue on a number of occasions. And I know Arsenal fans are talking about how good the clean sheet is in the last few games. I think that's more Ramsdale than it's been the defense. But I know they're a unit. But with the number of good saves he's had to make, it's been brilliant to see. And that's why I think when you look at him, he's got the potential to be great because if you think about the Brighton game, a lot of their shots were off target and stuff. But the couple of times he was needed, he was ready. And that's a sign of a very good goalkeeper where you might have to make an actual save for 20 minutes and then boom, you're there to do it. So it could be any one of those players theoretically, but I just feel like the way Ramsdale started, if he can maintain that, it'll do good. There's 5 minutes to go, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to get any super chats in to change it, there's a comment here that says, I think the return of Rashford will help United because it will end McFred allowing Oli to put Pogba in midfield, starting Sancho on the right, creating balance. Maybe. I just don't know. Honestly, I'm almost done predicting what Ollie's going to do now because we just don't know. No one knows. No one knows ever. Well, actually, no. What we do know is Fred and McTominay start all the big games. We know Rashford and Bruno are starting, and then it's Harry fits the rest in. Like, he's probably frustrated that they can't make 5 subs like a few years ago now. Like, can get them all on. Like that suited him. But there we go. This is the most unbiased lineup on YouTube, to be honest. I mean, the Football Terrace is typically unbiased because it's just rivals talking about rivals. It just is what it is. Terry actually watched Ramsdale. Bro, I've watched every single top 6 teams game for the past 4 years flat. I haven't missed one. I never miss one. It's my job to watch them, brother. So I definitely watch them all. I watch more of most people's clubs than they do. Like, it's a madness. I have to. It's my job. Imagine doing a match review on a game I ain't watched.
Just wing it, see what happens, mate. Just go on Twitter and read what a couple of big Arsenal fans have said and go on and just say that. I should do it sometimes and see what the reaction is. I bet you, Terry knowledge is great. Nah, brother, just nicked it off Twitter. Do you know what I mean? That's what I should do. Comment says unbiased, lol. Terry isn't unbiased at all. No, but no one's unbiased because to be I'm biased to my own opinions, my brother. And you'll know that, Franklin. You've watched for a long time. 90% of what you say is negative about the Football Terrace. And I normally don't focus on people like you, but I'm going to for a moment. You obviously don't hate it because you're here for every stream and every video we upload. So, my brother, I hope you are well. I hope you're happy. I hope you're safe. If you ever need a cuddle, a hug, maybe even a cheeky kiss on the cheek, send me a DM and I can arrange it, my friend, because you're a good guy. You're here all the time, brother. You're here all the time. Love it. Absolutely love it, mate. There we go.
Love.
It is what it is. And this is right for Mohammed. I am always spitting. You'll always realize, even when I'm wrong, I'm right. It's as simple as that. I'm not. I get a lot wrong, like everybody does. Terry, you forgot. How do I pronounce that name at West Ham? Yes, I didn't do West Ham players. Yeah, I didn't do. I added a few players in from other clubs. I didn't throw West Ham players in. Yeah, he's looked nice to start with as well. He's a guy with a big hair, right?
No,
he's Croatian.
He's Croatian, isn't he? From Moscow.
Who's the guy with the afro?
I don't know, but he balled.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't. I'll admit I don't watch a lot of West Ham games. That's the truth. I don't.
Do you know who is a good one? Because it was Liverpool. We talk about Salzburg and Dhaka and stuff, and Minamino. It was Hwang who scored against Liverpool at Anfield. He scored 3 goals in 4 games for Wolves already this season. So I think he'll be quite good as we get on the season.
You know what's funny about that though? He struggled to hit a net in Germany.
Because he went to Leipzig, didn't he? Of course. I just saw that comment. Sorry.
Redbird. Honestly, do you know what I love about Sonny? People think he puts it on, but when you're around him when there's no cameras on, he's just like that. He's a nice lad. He's a little bit silly. I wouldn't say dumb. That's the wrong word for it. He's a little bit. It gives me Joey Essex vibes. Like he's got them sort of like. What I like about him is, when you don't know an answer to a question, most people just say pass. I love the fact he just said something in case it was right. And that's why
I felt old when he said Arsenal, because I grew up watching the review DVDs of beating Alaves 5-4, and that's what got me. I was like, Michael Owen is like the biggest FA Cup final ever for Liverpool.
To be fair to that guy, we did beat Arsenal for the FA Cup the same season.
No, I know, and you know what? We're a wee bit older, so I understand. It's the way you reflect on it.
He just panicked a little bit, to be honest with you. It's like he's brilliant, and it's. Do you know what I would say is this? If he is putting it on, he deserves props because he acts it so well. Like if someone can put that on. It was
great entertainment. I thought it was hilarious. Brilliant. Fair play to him.
Isn't Redbird that
was the consortium who was trying to take us over with it.
That's the funny bit as well. So.
It's just mad. He was just like he
had it can't be easy though as well, mate. See, like it must be nerve-wracking doing that. Starting in that. The first question is like Redbird just try to say something. So
well, it's funny because I got some feedback from someone that came on the show the other day. They were like, next time I'm on, could you let us know in advance what the questions are going to be for the segments and stuff so I can prep answers? And it's something I've never do. You will know this, especially the guys in the group chat. Like. I say what we're talking about, but I don't really give any. It's come on and you speak. I'll ask you a question live, and it's like, I don't know what Terry's going to ask me, and I'm like, the quiz is never going to be. The quiz has to be random. It can't just be what's coming, and there is that pressure. There's a very famous scene from Family Fortunes where a guy keeps saying the answer turkey. It's things like the first question was something like, "What do you buy in the supermarket?" He says turkey, which was weird. The second question randomly was name a food that you stuff, and he said turkey and starts laughing. The next question was, what do you take to a beach? And he said turkey, and he burst. He can't stop saying turkey because he froze. It's like, I think there was a little bit of that in there with him as well, but there we go. It's all good. There's 1 minute left to go. If you want to change anything on here, ladies and gentlemen, 1 minute left to go. If you want to change anything around, Ronaldo got moved up to killing it. But Damari Gray is going to finish the day in there. We'll leave it as it is, and we'll come back to it in a couple of months' time to see where these players land at that moment in time. Literally, you've got 30 seconds left to go from there. Terry, how much do you pay Sonny to get those questions wrong? Honestly, again, I can't act. So my reactions to his answers were mad. The bit the bit that got me the most was actually what country is
Cameroon.
Because for me, I couldn't believe that he didn't know that he was from Cameroon. So when he did the whole I didn't catch that he was trying to say the Ivory Coast. I thought he was, like when kids get taught the ABC now, they don't get taught ABCD. They get taught ABBA. They get taught the sounds, right? I thought he was trying to sound it out. And it got me because it was like that moment where I realized he's that young. That's how much younger he is than me. He wasn't taught ABC. He was taught ABBA. And I was like, oh my God. And it wasn't until late. I couldn't believe it.
To be fair to him, I think he was trying to say Côte d'Ivoire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that was what
Ivory
got
Coast.
messed up. It's
It's
not
still
like
wrong. It's
But
still wrong though.
the best bit is,
I
isn't
know,
even the
but
right
like,
country.
In fairness to
I know.
Matip, he's not played for a couple of years for his country. I'll
Yeah.
give him that.
Yeah, he's there's some weird.
That's
thing
no
between
excuse,
Cameroon
bro.
and-
That's no
Yeah,
excuse.
that's an excuse right there.
Like Phil Jones hasn't played for England for about 8 years, but I don't suddenly think he's German. Do you know what I mean? Like
No,
it's
I know.
no, I'm only messing, but it's all cool. Cape Verde, was he trying to say Cape Verde? Maybe. Sancho, too much disrespect. Oh, look at that. Nice. Sancho got moved up in the last moment there. I like that. Sancho moved up into average. There and that's the end. That's the ending it. Stop the count. Stop the count. We're there. Great show, people. Really do appreciate you all coming on. To my guests tonight, thank you. To all the super chatters, thank you. We're back tomorrow with more content as ever. Jess and I are back at 4 PM. We're going to do a few more tiering shows this week as well. We're going to do some more contemporary ones, some placements and stuff like that. I know you all enjoy these. But thank you, everybody that's tuned in this evening. Make sure you smash the like button before you leave. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all.